I live? I'm not sure if I'm live. Okay, now I am live. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the How Can I Support My Child series. If you are with me, you can see me. Please let me know because the network this morning is glitchy. It's usually like that when it's a rainy morning. Building trust takes time, but consistency, understanding, and respect will go a long way in bridging the gap and allowing our young children, our teenagers, our preteens begin to trust us as their parents, their mentors, their guardians, and their okay, network, don't joke with me. All right. So I was saying that building trust can take time, but when we are consistent, when we are understanding, when we are empathetic, and when we show respect to our teenagers, our preteens, and our young children, then we bridge the gap and we are able to influence them. Welcome to today's show. How Can I Support My Child series. My name is Maribeth Chima, and I am your host, the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources, and of course, the proud matron of the Mastermind Circle, a peer mentorship and accountability group that we run for young children and preteens, where we want to raise children who are mindful, children who understand themselves, are aware of themselves, and are able to understand your intentions as a parent. And so together you can grow together, trust is built, and you are able to influence your child today as they grow and at all times. Welcome to the show where we answer the questions that parents have concerning their parenting, the questions that parents have because of the struggles or the things they want to find ways, to deal with those things before they become an issue in their parenting. All right, so today we're looking at how can I get my preteen to trust me enough to influence them. Apparently, this is an issue that parents begin to experience as their children grow older, as children move from being toddlers into becoming school age children and preteens, as they become more and more autonomous, as they become more and more independent. There is the chance that your child would not trust you enough to influence them. Now, if this is the case, or when this happens, the first thing you want to do as a parent is not to get frustrated. You want to ask yourself a few questions. Why is my child? Why is my child who before now used to trust me and the decisions that I make, used to trust me and the choices that I make, used to trust me and the suggestions that I give? Why is it all of a sudden that this child doesn't trust me, or this child is not saying anything to me, or this child is not allowing me influence their choices and decisions? You want to look inside, you want to look deep down, you want to trace what it is that could be the challenge why your child isn't. Because more often than not, there is a challenge, or there is a reason why your preteen isn't allowing you to influence them. We're going to be looking at a few things that could be the reason why they are not, all right, allowing you to influence them, or they are not trusting in your decisions, and all of that. That's what we're going to be looking at, or that's what we're going to be doing today. And we're going to be sharing a few tips on what you can do as a parent if this is your dilemma, if this is what your challenge is already, what you can do to change that, right? Gradually but surely. Welcome to the show again. Now, what are those things, or what are the reasons that could be behind why your 10-year-old, your 11-year-old, your 12-year-old doesn't, as young as they are, do not trust you enough to allow you influence their decisions. What could be the reason? I'm going to be sharing a few of them with you today. All right. The number one reason that this could be, right, is this one, that you are not present enough in the life of your child. Yes. If you are not present enough in the life of your child, then it may be difficult for you to actually, for that child to trust you enough to influence them. Now, what do we mean by you being present? There are two ways that you can be present or not present in the life of your child. One is that you are not present at all, meaning you are a parent who is not a part of the life of the child in a way that the child feels that you are. It could be as a result of a separation between you, I mean, between you and your spouse, or the father and the mother of the child. So it could be a father who isn't, a part of the child's life, in physical terms, by way of maybe it's a child that is born outside wedlock, is a child that is born outside a marriage, right? A child of a, as we like to call it, a side chick. It could be the father of the child that, a marriage that has gone, on south, where the parents are not together, right? A divorced couple. So in that case, the child is with one parent, and the parents have not been able to deal with their relationship in a way that it does not affect the children or the child. Now, when parents don't resolve their conflicts, when couples, partners, or spouses do not deal with their issues, right, in a way that it does not disturb the child's relationship or the child's well-being, mental health, or any other part of the child's life, then the child suffers. So when this is the case, one of the parents is likely not going to be present because, as I said, the issues between these two parents have not been settled, or the issue of the child's custody and, the child's your participation in the child's life has not been resolved in a way that is empowering for the child. So when this happens, the child suffers and one parent is missing. So that parent that is missing is likely hardly going to be able to influence the child, because the child does not know you enough. The child does not trust you enough. You may be their biological parent, but you are still a stranger to the child. And we usually don't trust strangers with our innermost, secrets, or the things that matter to us the most. So that could be one of the reasons why you are unable to influence your child, because simply the child doesn't trust you enough as, someone that they can give that access. All right. It may not even be deliberate. It may not even be because the other parent has told them not to. It is just reality, it is natural. All right. The second one is you can actually be a parent who is in their life, meaning daddy and mommy are together, or whatever it is. Mommy is present for the parents, or the one half of, that is present. You may still be physically present, yet not emotionally connected to the child, or not connected to the child in a way that the child can trust you. And that could happen when you are a parent who is, quotes and unquote, very busy. So you are that parent who has been able to place all the support staff and all the people around that can be there for the child, but you are not there for the child because, of course, there are many other things that are calling for your attention, that you cannot be present enough, in the way that you may want to, or the way that the child may want you to be present. Now, when that happens, you will miss out on a lot that is going on in the child's life, especially the things that, they need to, the things that you need to nip in the bud, as soon as it happens, the things that they need to turn to you to, in the spur of the moment. You are not there for all those spur of the moment kind of need. You are not there in their most intimate moments. And so they learn to trust, their friends. They learn to rely on other people that they have come to trust, or they learn to cope without having anybody that they can trust. So when this happens to your child, trauma is introduced somehow, and the child lives with it in a way that the child actually would teach himself how to cope without the influence of other people. So these are the children we end up saying, oh, they are very deep, they are very secretive, they are very quiet, they are very, the child has learned to cope with whatever they are going through on their own, because as human beings we were wired to survive. We were wired to survive. And so a child would develop coping mechanism to cope when they don't have anyone to trust or rely on. And so, as this child grows older, it becomes relatively difficult, right? More and more difficult for you who hasn't been there to influence them, just because they do not see you as that person. You are not present enough in their life. They do not relate to you as that family, in the real connection terms, right? For them to trust you, to tell you, their pains, to share all of that, enough for your suggestions or your thoughts to make sense enough for them to allow you influence them. So that could be one of the reasons. All right. Number two reason is you are parents, you are present, you are there, you are mommy, you want the best for them, you are daddy, you want the best for them. And so you are very, how we like to pride ourselves as strict. You are very strict. You are overly, you're overly ambitious or overly, pushy when it comes to your expectations and all of that. And so it ends up, okay, it comes across as being judgmental. That's what it is. So when you are always nitpicking, you see every mistake that the child makes, you see every mistake they make, you don't let it pass, you deal with every one of them, you are always really very hard, you come hard on them, on this. And what happens is the child feels overly judged, the child feels overly criticized, and so when you continuously criticize a child, especially for a child that you do not see when they do the right things, for a child that you do not praise their efforts, all right, for a child whose effort you hardly praise, but whose mistakes you always criticize, that child will feel threatened by you. The child will feel threatened by your expectations. And so the child will withdraw from you. And it's hard for the child to trust you because the child feels like they need to be a certain way to get your approval. So you put that child under a lot of pressure to be a certain way. So usually children like this will create a persona, right? Some of them will have to pretend, some of them would have to, pretend, put themselves under pressure, and all of that just to appear a certain way with you. Do you know how deep it gets? This one gets so deep that the child can grow that way even to becoming an adult. And you realize at every time the child is trying to prove something to you. The child wants to get that particular job so that you can see that they can get it. The child wants to get that particular possession, wants to possess a particular thing, just so that they can say to you see, you think I cannot do this on my own, I can. So before you know it, the child is under immense pressure, constantly trying to perform or outperform themselves so that they can get your approval. So when you are a parent who is overly critical, okay, and you are constantly judging the child, you will put the child under undue pressure such that the child is always trying to perform like a monkey. A child is trying to perform just so that they can get your approval. So why we say, oh, okay, our parents made us, we turned out well because our parents did this, or they did not take nonsense from us and all of that. If we go deep down and we look, we will realize that all our lives, some of us have been performing, or we have been trying to do everything that we do just so that subtly, quietly, or unconsciously, we can say to our parents, you see, me too, I can do it even when you thought I couldn't. So that is unhealthy, right? That is actually unhealthy because you don't live the fullness of who you are. You live your whole life under pressure to make some other person accept you. And it doesn't matter whether that person is your father to or your mother. Living your life for someone else to validate you is not living, it's not fulfillment. All right, so as parents we need to be careful. Okay, so this kind of children want to do things, right? They want to perform so that you can find them. All right, they want to perform so that you can actually validate them, but they don't trust you. This kind of children don't trust you. They don't trust you. They don't go with you. They don't allow you to influence them. All right, because a lot of times they know that, or they feel that you will judge them if they fail. So even when they fail, they don't come back to you. When they fail, they hide their failure from you because they do not want to be criticized by you. So even at the point where they become adults, they still are afraid of you criticizing them. So they are constantly trying to perform for you to validate them. But as far as trust and influence goes, you are not the person that they would turn to. So they would rather hide and keep hiding their weaknesses from you because you have not given them permission to be weak. You have not given them permission to fail. You have not told them, or through you have not taught them or told them that it is okay to fail and that you will be here to support them. What is important is what you do with your failure. So, without speaking these words, okay, this is what we're saying to our children. And that's why a lot of us do not go back to our parents. A lot of us in this generation, as much as we want to talk and brag and say, oh, I turned out well, it's because of what our father did, it's because our mother did, our mother did, and all of that. If they were so good, if they did so well, how come we don't trust them? How come you don't go to them for all the advice that you need in different areas of your life where you want to do well? All right. Why come you don't go back to them when you are struggling in your marriage? How come you don't go back to them when you're struggling in your career? How come you don't go back to them for the advice that you need in the most important part of your life? It is because all those things we call training ended up making us people who have been put under pressure to perform in a certain way before them. So yes, we just do things so that so that they can validate us. We don't do things because we are comfortable with them. All right, so we need to pay attention to this, and you want to pay attention that you are also not building or developing this kind of relationship with your child where your child is constantly trying to perform for you to validate them. If your relationship is based on you performing for someone to accept you, then I don't think that is a healthy relationship. It is toxic, right? It is toxic. All right, so number 3, when you are overly controlling. All right, so this one has got two extremes. When you are overly controlling, you want everything done your way, your way, your way. Okay, you do not believe so when we constantly want things done our way, and we are constantly putting this in front of our children, it's your way or no way and all of that, what we do is we limit their creativity. We limit their creativity. We make them feel like they are not sensible enough, or they are not sensible enough. They're not basically enough to make good decisions, right? That's what you're saying to them. I can't trust your decisions. I can't trust the way you do the things you do. I can't trust anything about you. So basically, right, you're saying to the child, you don't have the sense to do these things right. So it has to be my way or no way. So you don't allow them bring their own creativity to the table. You don't allow them express their individuality. You don't allow them put their touch to whatever it is that they are doing. because it has to be your way or the highway. All right, no other way. Now, when this is the case, you realize that you will raise children who would pretend. You will raise children who would develop a persona. That's one that bows. I mean, you will raise obedient children also. Those ones that, I mean, children that would do it your way because they know that is what pleases you. They will do it your way because they know that is what boosts whatever it is that you are trying to boost your ego, or that's what makes you feel like you are, I mean, you are a person of authority. So they do that to set, I mean, to give you your what is Caesar's, right? So they give it to you, enjoy it. But when they are not with you, they are usually different. All right. So you have a child, you have someone around you that has a certain persona. When they are away from you, then they can add their individuality and they can express themselves the way that they want to, or the way that they ordinarily they would express themselves. So when they have the opportunity or the option, so they won't come to you when it is not compulsion, when it is not by force. You represent, no option. You represent, no option. You represent my way or no other way. So I cannot come. You represent subservience, right? So I can't come and give my autonomy, right? I can't come and give my independence to you forever, especially when I am old enough to make these decisions for myself. So at the time when I am little and I'm young and I'm under your, your absolute, I'm under your absolute dependence, right? I can do as it is that you want, basically, because that's the only way. There are no options. But the moment I am independent, the moment I can take care of myself, the moment I can fend for myself, I won't come to you anymore because I do not want to submit my independence and individuality to you just so that you can continue to boost your ego and tell yourself that you are the only one that knows or has the key to everything. So yes, this kind of children will not allow you influence them. And it begins right from when they become preteens. The more autonomous they become, the more independent they become, the less they will allow you influence them, the less they will, allow, they will trust you enough to influence them because, hey, the relationship is not based on trust, it is based on force and forced obedience, basically. All right, the next one is when you have inconsistent behavior. All right, so when you are a parent who is not consistent. Sorry, let me go back. I talked about, when you are overbearing, you're that parent that is your way, or now there is the opposite of that, right? When you are that parent who is overly permissive, right? You are that parent that is overly permissive. And this one happens to a lot of us who probably were raised by parents who were overly strict. So because your parents were so strict, your parents were, so strict, it was always their way or no other way. Your parents, knew it all and it had to be their way. So you have your children, and because you didn't like the way your parents were, you decide, okay, you know something, I'm just going to allow my children, I beg, I'm going to allow my children, I don't have time for all that, and so you become the parent that is permissive. So you don't have rules on ground, you don't have anything that you insist on, you just allow the children do free flow. All right, so the children do free flow. Your children wake up when they like. Your children do the things that they choose to do. When you ask them to do stuff for you, sometimes they get to do it, other times they don't get to do it. It's just there are no real consequences, there are no real boundaries. As young as when the children are 8 and 9, they can 10 and 12, they can decide what kind of child they want to be. So you have the one that you talk to, and that one is always rebellious and doesn't want to, and everybody just talks about it. This one's wahala. I mean, everybody just complains about it, and all of that, and you just fight and fight, and you do nothing about it. And this is who the child is. Then you have that other child that is the one who is obedient and listens, and so you just give each of your children their places. The one that does it freely or top, we will send that one to do everything. The one that refuses to do it, we have accepted that one is like that. So basically, you're just a laid back, permissive parent. So the one who does it is the one who gets all the love and all the accolades. Oh, this one is the good child. This one is the kind child. This one is the this, this one is the that. And then the one who doesn't, we just leave it like that. So basically, the children would have they show up based on their own intuition. Okay, the one that wants to be nice to you is nice to you. The one that doesn't want to be nice is there. The one that feels like it sometimes and doesn't feel like it sometimes. So basically, there are no standards. Okay, as little as the children are, they can do whatever it is that they choose to do. They can show up for family as much or as less as they want to. So when you are permissive like that, you are neither here nor there. It's very difficult for your children to really trust you, okay, in terms of, really believe that your decisions or your choices can be relied on. So you come across as an unconfident, or what is it, is there a word like that, unconfident? You don't come across as a confident parent because you are driven by your emotions, right? So sometimes your decisions or the choices or the suggestions that you give them may work. Another time it may not work. When it works, there's nothing. When it doesn't work, so you're just laid back, you're permissive. Whatever the child is happy with, whatever makes the child happy, whatever makes the child happy, so you are just like that. You want to be ice cream, your children need to like you. You want to be jollof rice, your children need to like you. So basically, so when you are like that, it's the same thing. You will still raise children that as they grow older, all right, as they become more autonomous, they might listen to you talk, but when you come down to it, the children like that would always do what they end up wanting to do. It can never be because you influence them. They will do them. The only time they listen to you is when it serves them. All right. So we need to be careful about that, these extremes. All right. So the next one is when there is inconsistent behavior. All right. So today you are the parent that is very today you say, okay, we must go to the left. Tomorrow you go to the right. One day you say this is okay. The next day it is not okay. Oh, you promise the child if you don't do this, you will get you will get a consequence. Okay, the next moment the child is doing it, there is no consequence. So you're not consistent. Today the child can get away with something, the next day the child will not get away with it. You are neither here nor there. One day we're praying, the next day we're not praying, the next day. So your home does not have any structure, your home doesn't have any system. Anything goes. When the child wakes up, he feels like it, he does it. When he doesn't feel like it, he doesn't do it. This kind of children do not know how to start and finish the things that they start. This kind of children do not have any strong model to look up to, right? Because there is no system. Basically, there is no system. You have created no system that the child can rely on, basically. So when you are this kind of inconsistent parent, of course, you will raise children who with time cannot trust you, who with time cannot, they can't trust you basically enough to influence them. So as they grow older, you will even see that when they grow older and they begin to know better, you become the parent that they do not want to be, right? So there's something like that. There's something like learning, someone becoming your model, okay? And the person can be the model of who you want to be, the example that you want to be. You want, the example that you look out, that you look up to for what it is that you want to happen or you want to see in your life. Or the person can be a model of what it is that you do not want to show up in your life, right? I have people like that in my life that are just the example. I love them. They are amazing. They are beautiful and all of that. But they are a model for what it is that I don't want, basically. So if you want to put yourself back on track, just look at what it is that they do and do the opposite so that you do not end up, because you cannot change a thing. If you want to change a thing, you have to do it differently. All right. So basically, things like that. So you want to make sure that there is consistency in your parenting style, and in whatever you are doing. All right. So these are the things that could be the reason. Now let's look at what we can do, right, to ensure that our children can trust us. You have a preteen already that is in that space. You have a preteen that you can hardly influence. What do you start to do as a parent today in order for you to influence your preteen? Number one, you want to be fully present and engaged in their life. You want to be present and, engaging, with them and, walking through their journey. Please, parents. Parenting is a marathon. Parenting is not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? And in that marathon, we know what it is to run a marathon, isn't it? It's not just today you're strong, tomorrow you're not. Parenting is something that you set your mind on and you go on it from day one with a goal in mind, with a focus in mind, and with a vision in mind. So, for everyone who runs a marathon, there is usually a goal to win the marathon, perhaps, or to achieve this as a lifetime achievement. Some people just want to do that. Some people just want to see themselves do. When people go for the Boston, is that the Boston Marathon, right? Some people just want to be a part of it. They've told themselves it's part of their bucket list. It's one of the things that I would do. So there's usually a goal, right, for going for that marathon. All right. So whatever it is, now there is where the marathon will end, isn't it? So meaning there is a vision, there is an end point, right? So it's the same thing with parenting. What is your goal, right? What is your goal for that child? What's the vision? All right. And then, of course, for you to start and finish the marathon, you have to stay focused. So you have to stay focused and all of that. So that's what parenting is. So what it means is you need to be present, and present in a way that the child feels that you are present. Okay, so it's one thing to be present, it's another thing for the child to feel that you are present enough for the child to feel your presence in their life. So it begins with, so you have a preteen right now, you have a young child right now. Do you know that the language of love and the language of your presence with your child is play? So if you're a parent who is not playing with your child is not going to feel your presence. You don't make time to play, your child is not going to feel present. Number two, if you're a parent who doesn't make time to do things with your children, like engage in activities with your children, the activities that will help you connect, then your child is not going to feel your presence. Three, if you're a parent who doesn't know how to connect with your child in order for you to correct them, meaning when your children go wrong, you have a system that allows you connect with the child, meaning you see the human being. You do not have a problem with the human being, but you have a problem with the behavior. So if you're able to separate the human being from the behavior, now you are connecting in order for you to correct. All right, so when you do this, then you do not disconnect, right? As far as your love for the child, you do not disconnect as far as your connection with the child goes. You don't ruin that, but you're able to focus on the negative behavior and you're able to deal with the negative behavior. So you must be that. Now, for a parent who has someone, okay, so these are the things. So you need to be present. Now you need to understand how your child wants to be loved. So meaning you must understand the child's love language and you must love the child in the language that the child understands. So if your child's love language is spending quality time and you are the parent that doesn't ever have it, it means that you will never speak the child's language and that child is never going to feel loved enough, isn't it? If your child's language is act of kindness and you are not the parent who stops, and offers to help them with one thing or the other, whether it's homework, you don't do that project together, you don't make time for that. Every month there is nothing. A week will go by nothing. A month will go by nothing. Months will go by nothing. An entire year, you cannot sit down and think of one or two times that you actually stopped and showed up for your child in the language of love that your child understands. Now, when this is the case, it's not going to be. So you want to identify your child's love language, how each of your children feel loved, and you want to speak that language to them. You want to also understand how they learn, so that when you are teaching them, right, your children can learn from you, because you are teaching them in the style and in the with the strategies that can be effective. Now, this is how you can be present with your children, I mean, in your children's life, by playing with them, by doing activities with them. Could be board games, could be road trips, could be, activities that help you connect, and spend time with each other, bond, connect. The summer is a great time. We have the summer fun challenge that we've been doing since the 1st of August. We still have a whole, this is the 23rd, we still have a whole 7 or 8 days in that challenge. Do you know you can join the challenge today, and that's enough? For 7 days, connect with your child. 8 days, connect with your child, and that is enough connection for the summer holiday, right? Oh, that is good enough. I mean, it's good enough connection, right? Just being there for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour every day. Do you know that even for the busiest parents, if you can spend 10 minutes where you leave everything and give your child your full attention for 10 minutes every day, do you know you will be connecting with that child better than the person who takes them out once in a year, once in a month, once in 3 months, and all of that. And if you have to rely on other factors for you to connect with your children, factors like your job giving you time, you having money, you don't go out of your way to intentionally create time for your children. They may be young, but they will see, they will understand these things. I mean, they may be young, but your absence is still felt. They may be young, but your absence is certainly still felt. And one day they would interpret these things, and the way you show up for them is going to be the only way that your children know to show up for you. These things are not pre-planned. They don't sit down and say, okay, this is how this woman or this man showed up for me. This is how I'm going to show up for them. No, their subconscious mind will teach them and help them show up for you the way you showed up for them. It's as simple as that. It is that simple, I promise you. All right, parents. All right, so we want to take note and we want to pay attention to that. All right, number 2, you want to allow your children some independence. Okay, how do you do that? You do that by giving them power. When you want to make decisions, bring your children into the decisions that you make in your home. It's as simple as saying to them, let's create the menu. I mean, let's create the meal table for the month. All right, let's create a meal plan for the month together. It's as simple as telling them to create, I mean, you do your budget for the month upkeep together. It's as simple as asking them about a choice about what to wear. Oh, what do you think? How do you think? Which one do you think I should go with? It's as simple as that. It's as simple as having a project as a family and sitting down with the entire family to say, what do you think? And then you get input from your children. If we have children, your preteens, and they've not sat down with you as a family to make a decision that seems like a major decision, right? It's decision as simple, I mean, as simple as, okay, the house we want to stay in, the choice of that house, what do you think we should furnish it like, things like that, that for you, that may not be a big deal for you. These things are big, they are major. All right, they are major for these children, and what it tells them is that you trust them, you trust their decision, and you have made them a significant part of the decisions that are made in this home. What it does is it makes them give you access into making significant choice, I mean, making significant inputs in their own lives and the things that matter to them. See, parents, the things you don't introduce to your children, the things that you do not give permission or access to your children won't know. So your children would actually leave you outside their life and not involve you in major decisions in their life, not because they hate you, or sometimes not even because they not because they hate you or they don't think you're worth it. It's because they don't know that they should have you as that part of their life. They don't know that it is a thing. Why? Because you did not make it a thing in your home, that they are a part of the decisions in your home. So they didn't make decisions with you. So why do you want to make decisions with them? So these are the things. So as I said, parenting is a sprint. I mean, is a marathon. What is it? Where are you going to? What's your goal? What kind of family are you building today? It will determine the family that you have when you are in your 60s and 70s and 80s and your children are adults. It won't fall from heaven that you will have a close knit family when you did not create one when you were younger. So the bonded family that you want to see when you are much older is what you create today, right now, when they are little. It becomes a culture, it becomes a part of who you are as a family, and it makes it easier for you to embrace other people because you trust yourself, and trust is a theme in your home. So when they even begin to bring in their spouses, and all of that, it's easy for you to trust them because you are a family that is rooted in trust, and you can trust the judgment of your children. So when you have that, you can trust their judgment. When they bring their spouses, trusting their spouses shows that you trust your children and you have raised them properly to make the right choices. See, parents, these things are so deep, but they begin today. Very, very key. Okay, and then the last one I'm going to be sharing today with you is model. You have to model these things. What do you want to see, right? What do you want? As I said, you want your children to trust you, then you get to trust them. You want your children to influence your decision. You want to influence their decision, then you have to allow them influence your decisions, right? The small, small decisions, as I have said. All right, so we're going to stop here for today. All right, so we do this, we work with parents, we make parents understand these things. Now, imagine you have your child with us in the mastermind circle, our peer mentorship and accountability group. Now, these are the things that we say to your children. This is what our curriculum is based on. So, what it does is, while we work with your children based on this robust curriculum, you are able to take a piece and a slice of this curriculum and implement it in your home. And that way, you become a visionary parent and you're able to hit those goals. Okay, things that ordinarily you won't think of. But because your child is in the mastermind, we're able to bring these things to light and you are able to take these things and run with. And that way, we are influencing and supporting your child. You are influencing and supporting your child, and your child is getting support from us and from you, and we are working as a team in this triangle relationship. And this is why you should have your children in the mastermind circle. So do you have children that are between 5 years and 8 months and 13 years? Then you need to register them in the mastermind circle. Our new cohort begins from the first week in September. All right, you can join right away by sending us a message. Right, by sending us a message, you can join right away and have your child become a part of this robust community. All right, so you can book a slot for your child, all right, and jump right in. Just send us a message on our phone number 081. You can send us a chat on 081 306 21566, or check after this session. You will see in the description on YouTube, you will see frequently asked questions about the mastermind, or on Facebook, you would see in the comments the same frequently asked questions so that you can be a part of this. Do you have my book? Have you pre-ordered my amazing books? For your preteens, for your children between 7 and 13, this book will bless them. This book is all about, one of the books, Wisdom Stories for Champions, is all about family traditions, building those family traditions, building trust between you and your children, and all of the things that we're talking about. All right, so you need to grab a copy of that book, and then Destined for Greatness will help your children see the giants that they are, believe in the giants that they are. We have put icons that can be inspirational to your children, right? That can be models, to your children. And with these two books, I tell you, you will be building a child who is solid in their convictions, a child who is solid, in their self-awareness. Thank you very much for joining me for this session today. If you catch the replay, let us know that you got value from this session. And of course, let us know if you would like to have your child in the mastermind circle, our peer mentorship and accountability group, for that transformational experience for the year. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you on Monday when we bring you a new episode of How can I support my child? Bye.